So circumference is 2 pi r. And now you're going to replace the radius with 11. So 2 times pi times 11. My pencil. You are not going to put this in your calculator yet. We're going to leave it, we're going to write it in terms of pi first. In order to do that, you just multiply the numbers and you leave the pi part. So 2 times 11 would give me what pi? 22 pi. If it asks for the exact value of the circumference, this is how you write your answer, 22 pi meters. If it doesn't ask for the exact value, it does want you to round it. So go ahead now in your calculator, you're going to type in 22 pi. There is a pi symbol. If you have a scientific calculator, most likely it's a button that's already there for you. If you do not, then if you have one of mine, you'll have to press the second key to get it. So about 69.1 meters. Please be careful with your units and actually use them. I'm going to be more picky because we're talking about area and circumference. You need to know the difference. Okay, it says find the radius of a circle with a circumference of 18 yards. I want you to change it to say 18 pi yards. So you're solving for the radius. So you're going to use 2 pi r again. You know the circumference, so substitute. And then we're going to solve. To get r by itself, what do I have to divide by? 2 pi, which you can do all at once. So divide by 2 pi on both sides. And so this obviously cancels out. What happens with the pi's on the left-hand side? They also cancel out because pi over pi is 1. So all you're left with then is 18 divided by 2. So what's the radius? 9. The radius is 9 what? 9 yards. Not 9 pi. Pi is gone. So conveniently, your pi's will cancel out. Cool. Moving on. Next one is talking about revolutions. If we're talking about the revolutions of a circle, what part of the circle do I want? The circumference. Yes, that's what we're using today. So yes, obviously the circumference, the outside edge is what's traveling. If you look at this picture, all this stuff here is to throw you off. I mean, I know that that's relevant and it's true, but all you need is either radius or diameter. What's the diameter? 55. Add it all up. 55, and this is in millimeters right now. A tiny little circle. So we're going to start by finding circumference. Since we have the diameter, we're going to use the pi diameter formula. So pi times diameter. You are not going to multiply this in your calculator and get a decimal value, because we have a lot more calculations to do still, and that would be a bad way to start out. You don't want to round right at the beginning. So it's going to be just 55 pi. You're going to leave your answer in terms of pi. When I say that, this is what I mean. And this is millimeters. 55 pi millimeters is your current circumference. Okay. How far does a wheel travel when it makes 35 revolutions? What do I do to figure that out? Multiply by 35. So 55 pi times 35. Still, we are not going to multiply the pi. You're just going to tack it on the end. Just multiply the normal numbers here. So you're just going to multiply the 55 and the 35. How many pi's is that? Right? So 1,925 pi millimeters. Okay, but it has asked us two things. One, wants it in meters. Two, to the nearest meter. So now you're actually going to divide by what? How many millimeters are in a meter? Does anybody know? 1,000. So take that, and we're actually going to use pi now since this is the very, very last step. So we are going to round it. So in your calculator, you need to put 1,925 pi in parentheses. It might work if you don't, but I want you to get in the habit. And then divide by 1,000. 6 meters. So we are finding the arc length. The arc length is not 88 degrees. That's the arc measure in degrees. I want the arc length. So the arc length I'm asking for in meters. In meters, how long is that piece? That's what I want to know. Or what's the distance of that piece? So we start by finding the circumference. And once we have that, we can set up the proportions. So my radius is what? 2. So 2 pi r. So it's going to be 2 times pi times 2. Do not multiply this all out in your calculator. Leave it in terms of pi, please. So it's going to be what pi? 4 pi. My circumference is 4 pi. 4 pi meters, but we'll use that at the end. Now you set up your proportion. So the arc length over the circumference, part over the whole. You do not know what the arc length is, so you're going to put x over the circumference, which is, no, 4 pi. Leave it with pi. We don't want to round till the very, very, very end. You're right, but don't do that. And that's equal to the arc measure. What's the arc measure in degrees? 88. Over the entire circle's measure in degrees, which is 360. This is just a proportion. You solve it the same way you've been solving proportions all year. Cross multiply. Solve. So you'll have 360x equals, do not multiply the pi out yet. Just multiply 88 times 4. So 352 pi. Now you can do the part where you round. So divide by 360. And when you go to do that, you are going to actually type in pi this time. Please put this part, 352 pi, put that in parentheses. You are now allowed to round. So the arc length of AB, x equals 3.1 meters. Okay. Degrees, because you already actually have the arc length. The arc length is 38. So I'm asking for the measure in degrees. And if you look at the picture, it's pretty obvious you don't have that right now. And you can't assume that it's 180 just because it kind of looks like 180. This is not clear in the picture. 12.3 is actually the radius. You would think it wouldn't be because it's kind of in the middle, but it is the radius. So we will start by finding the circumference. Circumference is 2 pi r. We are going to leave our answer in terms of pi. So 2 times pi times 12.3. Just multiply the numbers. 2 and 12.3, what's my circumference in terms of pi? Okay. 24.6 pi. Now set up your proportion. Arc length, you know what that is. It's 38. Over circumference, 24.6 pi. Because you're not going to round until the very, very, very end until you have to. Is equal to the arc measure. Do you know how many degrees that arc is? No. But you know how many degrees a total circle is. It's always 360. Okay. We're going to cross multiply and solve. Oh, it's a large number and I don't know what it is. 136, 80. Okay, equals 24.6 pi times x. You have to solve for x. This is a part where if you don't type in your calculator correctly, you will get an incorrect answer. When you divide by 24.6 pi, you have to put that part in parentheses. So this part right here, 24.6 pi, has to go in parentheses. This cancels out, so it doesn't count. So go to your calculator, make sure when you type it in, 24.6 pi goes in parentheses. Otherwise, your calculator will divide by 24.6, and then it will divide by pi, because that's what you have told it to do if you leave off the parentheses. So the arc measure in degrees is about 177 degrees.